right, so welcome back.
Thank you.
This week we're going to talk about basically, all those questions I asked you last week, what those mean, how we're going to conceptualize TJ's problems, what we need to work on, and then like a very basic general plan of what we're going to do in sessions. Okay?
All right.
All right. So first of all, we already know TJ has ADHD. He meets the criteria for that, but it is well managed on his stimulants that he's on right now. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So all of those, we're just going to monitor that. Keep it in mind. As of right now, it's pretty well controlled. So we're just going to set that to the side and just keep it in mind. Okay?
Okay.
From the information we've gathered, I think that TJ's biggest problems really come down to his anxiety, right? And his anxiety about school in particular.
Mm-hmm.
He is very, very sub-threshold for generalized anxiety disorder. Right, he meets most of the criteria, but he really only has anxiety around school. Typically, people with generalized anxiety disorder, they worry about everything. They have a lot of worries. It's, basically generalized across, situations. TJ's anxiety really just seems to be focused on this one area, right? He's really concerned with his grades, really concerned with school performance, right? So that's what we're going to focus on, at least initially. It's going to be one of the main goals we're going to work on is his anxiety. We want to talk to TJ, get at, the reasons behind his anxiety and what, triggers his feelings, what he actually thinks. We might have to work with TJ a bit on labeling his emotions, because it seems like he doesn't really kind of understand what he's saying. He can't put words to it, right?
He just freaks out, throws a hissy fit about basically whatever with school and grades.
Yeah, so it seems like TJ just, he can't express what he's feeling, and that just adds to the frustration. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means, how to label emotions, how to label feelings. There are a lot of different, techniques we can take to address his anxiety. There's something called the coping cat. There's an adolescent version where we go through, and it's just really, really basic how to handle anxious feelings. Because there's no way we're going to be able to just get rid of TJ's anxiety. We can't just make it stop. There's nothing we can do for that. But we can teach him how to cope with it and how to not let it interfere as much with his daily functioning.
All right, so this is a thing for older kids, because I don't want you babying my kid. I mean, my wife does that enough already.
Oh, no, there's an adolescent version. So we're going to teach, put him in the age bracket. There are some things where we might have to go based on where he is in his level of kind of emotional functioning. But we're going to structure everything to TJ and where he's at right now and then work from there. Okay?
Okay.
And as far as mood problems, TJ did kind of hit a lot of the criteria for, depression, some, mania, some oppositional defiant disorder. He kind of hit criteria in all of those areas, but I really think it comes down to his anxiety and him not being able to handle the anxiety and not being able to regulate his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The checklist of information we went through, all of the questions, everything. There's a new diagnosis called disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, which isn't actually directly addressed in those checklists, but it looks like TJ might meet the criteria for that as well. Generally, kids with, they call it DMDD, right? Generally, kids with that kind of anything will set them off. It seems like a temper tantrum's kind of out of the blue. So TJ, we know specifically, we can tell when it's going to happen, right? It's very predictable when he's going to have his temper tantrums.
Pretty much all about school.
Yeah, all about school. So that label doesn't really fit with TJ, but it is important to keep in mind that he meets plenty of those criteria. And same with oppositional defiant disorder, where, he has a problem arguing mostly with you and mom, right? Not really with teachers, but it's with adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be important to keep in mind. Everything kind of stems from TJ's anxiety, but then he has these problems regulating his emotions and how he reacts to it. And a lot of it has to do with relationships, too. So what I would want to do is, everybody's going to be involved. It's not just going to be me one-on-one with TJ. We'll get you and mom involved as well.
Okay.
Because what's happening right now is TJ's got this anxiety that's his own, and then the interactions at home are just making everything worse. Right, so we're not handling it effectively. I'm not saying that you guys are, causing any of this, but it's turned into kind of a dysfunctional relationship back and forth. It's kind of like a vicious cycle. TJ has these problems, you react a certain way, and it just, TJ's problems escalate, and then it makes you even more angry, right? It's kind of a give and take, right?
Yeah.
So what we want to work on is the whole family dynamic. We're going to look at a kind of a systems approach and really deal with your interactions with TJ, both you and mom. And even, TJ and his sister. We'll work on that as well. Okay? And I think the last thing we talked about that TJ kind of hit off was his needle, sort of a phobia. It's not really dysfunctional enough. It doesn't affect his life in a very pervasive manner because it's so specific, right? The needle problems only cause issues when he's got a doctor's appointment, really, right?
Yeah.
So we might talk about that a little bit if he has doctor's appointments coming up. We'll definitely want to address it. Basically, how we would deal with that is just graded exposure. We'd get TJ used to it, right? Kind of like with his anxiety. We can't just make his fear go away, but we can make him get used to it. He can kind of become accustomed to his fear. And we would do that through just a general exposure. It's really simple. We would show him, first we would talk about needles and what that does. Move on to pictures, move on to actually, bringing in a needle, that kind of stuff. Okay?
Okay, but you won't be sticking him with any needles, because I know
No.
you're not a doctor. So.
No, we wouldn't do that. But if, like I said, that's going to kind of take a back seat to the anxiety and the
Okay.
relationship problems. If he has a doctor's appointment coming up, we will definitely address it. It's something pretty straightforward and generally pretty effective pretty quick with kids, okay? So just on your part, you and Mom just kind of, we want to get some notice if he's going to have a doctor's appointment coming up or, how far out we can schedule it. Give us a few months to kind of prepare.
All right.
Okay? But really, I think the main focus is going to be his anxiety around school, and then stemming from that, his relationships. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So what I want to do is, first session next week, we'll talk to TJ individually, and I'll talk to you and Mom individually, maybe talk to everybody together, kind of set out a basic plan, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Next week.